Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Zentangle Explore. My name is Esther Piszczek. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher, and this is where we draw one Zentangle pattern really, really slowly with a pen. This is a 01 and a couple pieces of small paper. Just anything you have will work. This is watercolor paper in case I want to add watercolor later or markers or some sort of color. And any pen you have, even if you have an orange ballpoint on your desk and you pick it up and you want to draw with it on a piece of copy paper or a grocery list, perfect, 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 perfect. So we are going to start with some breathing time so we can slow down, and then we will draw for a nice long time. So get nice and comfortable in your seat. I'm going to close my eyes. You can close yours if you would like. And we're just going to check in with our breath. Say, hello, breath. Welcome to this moment. Wherever this moment finds you. Just sense your breath in your body. Find the inhale, the lovely inhale. Sense the exhale, the release of that CO2 out into the air, feeding the plants and the trees. And then the exchange with all of that plant and tree oxygen coming into your lungs. And if anything in your body is calling your attention, just give it a little wiggle and send a little air, a little oxygen, a little breath its way. Time to relax. We're just going to sit fully present, 100% in the space that we're in, the space we're creating together, either live or on the replay. Allow everything to come to stillness, all the thoughts that are swirling, all the to-dos in your awareness, all the things that surround you. Perhaps see them swirling and then slowing down, slowing down, slowing down, until they come to gentle rest and float gently, so gently down to the ground. Just allow them to settle. Allow yourself to settle as you breathe. Perhaps begin to notice where you can feel that breath in your body. Perhaps you can feel your clothing moving on your skin. Maybe you can feel a coolness at the edge of your nostrils. You might be able to feel the expansion of your lungs along your ribs, on your back, maybe your shoulders, maybe your elbows move. However you're sensing it in your body, warmth or coolness, quickness or slowness, it's absolutely perfect. Just notice. And we're just going to allow that breath to continue to cycle as we come back into this space. Perhaps give your fingers or your toes a little wiggle, maybe a little stretch. Knowing that that breath is with us always, 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 and is always inviting us to slow down, to come back into our bodies, to feel the gravity that tugs us, and notice the sensations of breathing. to bring us into a calm and gentle space. And so when you're ready, you can open your eyes and know that whatever we create together will be perfect just as it is. Thank you so much. I love breathing and sitting and relaxing before drawing really slowly. It's so helpful. All right, so I'm going to change my camera and we will draw. Okay, so I have before me a pile. You don't probably need this many, but 2 or 3 would be great, of different sizes and shapes of pieces of cut paper. And I'm going to start on this one. And I have a 01 Micron. I have a Sharpie pen. I have a black ballpoint. Whatever is pleasing to you to draw with will be absolutely perfect. So the whole point is to draw really slowly. And if you can hold a pen and draw a line, then you are in the perfect place. So this is a tangle. It's very organic. It's very easy to draw. And it is called Greenery. And I'm going to start off the side of my page. You don't necessarily have to, but to begin, I'm just going to start off the end of my page. I'm going to draw a really slow line. This line can be curved. This line can be straight. This line can curl. And then I'm going to add to this line, and I can feel a little wiggle in my hand. And these lines here can be long or short or curved. They can come from the same apex point, or they can branch off in different ways. So this is Greenery Vibrant by Damy Teng, who's a certified Zentangle teacher. And so once we get our little branch going here, we're just going to add some leaf shapes to it. And what I love about how this tangle is constructed is that we add the leaf shapes to the branch as opposed to adding to the actual stem instead of adding them to the branch proper. So we already have the stem built in to the leaf. And my leaf shapes are getting a little interesting, which I totally love because this class is all about exploration. So this is such a simple tangle. That is really it. That's all that happens in this tangle. And then the question is, where do you want to put them and how do you want to explore them? So in this class, we look at the components of each tangle, no matter how simple or how complicated. And here we have a straight line or a curved line or a curvy line. And we have these little branchings that come off of it, either off the same or alternate spaces. And then we have these shapes that form on the ends of those branches. And so you can play with that in whatever way you like. You can curve your line. You could do a double line, so a double line stem. Your branches can be super long and straight. You can adjust where they come off of your stem. You can play with the width of your stem. You can play with the shape of the leaves. You can make those leaves into triangles or squares. You can overlap those leaves by drawing behind. So when you get to a shape, you just stop, imagine where it goes behind, and then continue on the other side. You can overlap all of these little Greenery vibrants. It's spring here in Duluth, Minnesota, where I am, and that means that everything is growing and bursting. And the leaves are just starting to peek out because spring is a little It takes its good sweet time up here in the north. So whatever is calling to you, whatever thought occurs to you says, well, what if I did this? Or how what if I changed it in this way? Or what if I draw it upside down like I'm doing now? What would that look like? What would it feel like? What might I learn by doing it in a new way? You can answer those questions because you have a pen, you have your breath, and you have a piece of paper. And you can float these in space too, and you can connect them as well. You could have one continuous line that goes throughout, and then you just build and build and build on it. But the whole point is to do it slowly. So slowly. With an attitude or a mindset of exploring. And exploring means that you don't know what you'll find as you move forward. And that means that your expectations are managed in a really lovely way because you don't know what you're going to find. It's really hard to expect something to be good or bad or fantastic or miserable because you've never done this before. It's all brand new. Every exploration is all brand new. Even if I come back to this tangle 6 times this next week, if I come back with the thought that I am exploring, then I'm already setting my expectation to learning something new. Because exploring means that I don't know. And I love not knowing. It's so much more fun and more expansive and more delightful than knowing. Because knowing means that I am going to either get what I've always gotten, and sometimes we want to get what we've gotten. We want to know the outcome. But if we continue to do that over and over and over again, then nothing new ever presents itself because we don't allow anything new to come into our awareness. And the tricky side of expecting what I've gotten before is that my expectation sets me up to want it to be a certain way. And when that expectation requires something to be a certain way, then I'm predisposed to judge the outcome, to say, well, that didn't turn out as I expected, therefore it's bad or wrong, or maybe even I failed at doing it. But what if you didn't fail? What if you learned something new? And when you're exploring, you can say, well, if I'm exploring, I will always learn something new. And so you're always a success, always and forever successful when you're exploring and you can release expectations. And the other problem with expecting and trying to create something that you've created before is that often our inspiration will jump into the process and a line will go wonky, and all of a sudden, we will be creating something we did not intend to create. Now, if we have an exploring mindset, then we could say, "Ooh, well, that's super fun and unexpected. And I didn't even know I could do that. And what if I did more of that? And maybe I don't like it exactly the way it is, but it's given me an idea to do something new that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of without that little kind of glitch, a glitch in my arm movement, a glitch in my pen, maybe getting distracted by a phone call, whatever it is that's changed what we were doing. It's really a moment of celebration because if we're always intending to get what we think we want, life just gets super boring really fast or super frustrating. And neither of those are delightful, at least for me. I do not like being frustrated and I do not like being bored. And so exploring is a lovely mindset to embrace, become curious about, to hold lightly, to have fun with, and not only when drawing, but in every other part of living. So our inspiration is with us always and pushing us to do new things, find out new things, explore new things. So you can start a new piece of paper whenever you like. I'm going to keep going on mine here, see what else comes out of it. What I like about adding the leaf shape to the stem is that you can really play around with the length of the, excuse me, the length of the stem and the shape of the leaf. And I often find that when I draw leaves and stems, the stem gets a little, sometimes it can get to be off center when I'm adding it afterwards. And here, it's already there. So you're actually adjusting based on what's already there instead of adding it in at the end. So it's kind of lovely to play with that. So there isn't a lot of black. These are really simple line patterns. There's not a lot of black to this. So there are ways that you can add some black if you want to. You can play with line weighting of your stem just by adding little thicker bits here and there. You could color in some of your leaves, add some dark leaves. You could say, well, I don't want any darker spots, but I'm going to add some watercolor or some highlighter even. Highlighter doesn't last very long, especially if you put it in the sun, but it's so fun to use it, especially on envelopes if you're putting a little love in the mail or even a bill in the mail. Add some highlighter, add some lovely neon yellow to it, dress it up. You know that envelope's going to get recycled, hopefully, or thrown out. So it doesn't matter if it's not going to stay very long. And highlighter is just such a playful thing because it really allows you to say, well, it's highlighter. I mean, I used to use it to study in my books, so it's not precious. It can just be used for fun and joy. One of my very favorite things is to draw on envelopes. I encourage all of my students to do it. What's nice about that is that they send me beautiful envelopes in the mail, which I absolutely love and appreciate. And think about all the people that are seeing that envelope. And so if you're judging, you might say, oh my gosh, all the people that are seeing that envelope, except that you're not there. And so you will never know what they think. So it really doesn't matter what they think. And also, what if they're delighted? What if they look at what you think is not good enough and they say, oh my gosh, I could never draw that way. That is so brave and so lovely and delightful to see artwork on an envelope out in the world. Somebody was thoughtful enough and took the time to brighten my day by putting lines on paper and adding a little color. I once worked at a bookstore outside of Boston, and I worked with an artist who just was working at the bookstore in between doing art. And he would do these beautiful characters and gorgeous real representational work. And I was just in awe of him because that is not my best way of drawing. It does not come easily to me. And I made a sign once for a book event we were hosting. And I made it very much in my own style of what I call fourth grade art. The fourth grader is very, very experimental and exploratory. And so I've come to love my little inner fourth grade artist. But I didn't think that it was very much of anything. This was well before I was doing any of these classes and really learning about honoring my own marks and embracing what comes out of my pen because it's unique to me. So this was well before that, and I had all kinds of judgment about it because it didn't look like his, and I knew I couldn't draw like him, and on and on and on. And I was so surprised when he complimented what I did and said, wow, because I had done something curly and organic, which is what I love to do. And he's like, I could never draw that way. And at first I didn't think that he was being serious, but then I realized that he really was. He was actually in awe of what I did because his style was so different. And what I did was completely me and not him. And how perfect. How perfect that we all draw different lines, that we all think about things in different ways, that we all have different ideas about how the world works and about what works best for us, about what color we like, about whether or not we like hot sauce. It makes life so interesting. And so we can learn to embrace those things that are unique to us, at least for me. It's so validating and so permission giving. And it not only allows me to give myself permission to be different and unique, it allows me to give others permission when they're doing things that maybe I might be judging or thinking, well, I don't know, I wouldn't want to do that. Well, so what? I don't have to do that. I get to do whatever I want to do. If somebody else wants to do whatever they're doing, great, because that means I don't have to do it. I get to do what I want to do. They get to do what they want to do. Let's let everybody do what they want to do so that we can be beautifully human and beautifully unique. I saw a story on the news. Well, actually, it was a late night show this week about a man in Wisconsin who got bitten by a garter snake when he was young. And then he said to himself, as a child, I wonder if I got bitten an awful lot, whether or not I would become immune to snake bites. And so he has allowed over 200 snakes to bite him on purpose, snakes in his basement. And he exposes his arm to the snakes, and the snake bite him. And he's now being studied by researchers because there's all kinds of antivenom for specific snakes. But there really isn't a general, or there isn't a general antivenom for snake bites in general. Just like if you get bitten by a snake, you can take X and then it will save you. And so now, because he likes to have snakes bite him, his blood has created what they believe is an antivenom to all kinds of different snakes. And so his very interesting way of living his life by having these snakes bite him is actually and potentially going to save lives all over the world. And he didn't set out to save lives all over the world. He set out to explore what might happen if you got bitten by a lot of snakes. And what a lovely outcome. And so what this story means to me is that when we follow what we want to do, what's unique to us, which lights us up, which brings us joy, we end up helping everybody. It's amazing. It's amazing that doing what brings us joy helps others. And it doesn't have to be work. And it doesn't have to be that somebody told you to do something. It can just be because you're curious and interested. And because you honor and value your own desires and your own ways of doing things. Super fun. So I used to get really, excuse me, upset about lines crossing each other. And so now I practice. And there definitely is something in art about creating negative spaces and being very thoughtful about where you put things, but there's also something delightful about just filling spaces to see what you like. And so I'm just allowing my space to fill here just to see what will happen. I love the name of this tangle too, Vibrant Greenery, because it invites us to explore anything that we might decide is vibrant greenery. That could support a whole host of things that show up on the page. It's also nice about releasing expectations because it really allows us to become more focused, more zen-like, to really disappear into what it is that we're experiencing. We taught a class on Wednesday night, and it's a class where we teach a number of patterns. It's called Zentangle Unfurled. And then we all draw whatever it is that we're moved to draw on the page, separately yet together. It's really beautiful to see all of the gorgeous patterns and tiles and tangles that come out of that class. But in the middle of the class, I actually was so involved in what I was drawing. It got really, really quiet, even though we're on Zoom. It's still, you can sense when people are there. It got really quiet. And I forgot that I was in class. Forgot completely. And that is so lovely. I didn't forget for long, but I did forget. And if it happens to you, lose track of time, get so immersed in your drawing that you just fill an entire page. Bravo. Just breathing, drawing really slow lines. Your lines, not my lines, not your neighbor's lines, not somebody else's lines, your lines. Your lines unique to you, your lines that nobody else in the world can draw because they're not you. Only you are you. And that is so super special and incredible and magnificent and glorious and truly amazing. The other thing I love about exploring is that there aren't any rules. So this vibrant greenery can be anything. It doesn't have to be look like some plant that you've seen before. It's the beautiful thing about drawing. I can draw representational things if I choose, or I can draw things right from my imagination that I've never seen in nature before, and I imagine would be lovely to see in nature. So it's a way of giving ourselves permission. At least for me, I need a lot of permission because I've spent my life trying to follow every rule, and it is really exhausting. So it's really fun to draw on the page in a nice, safe way and break all the rules. Nature's so varied that no matter what you draw, it's probably out there somewhere. Just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean that it does not exist. It's keeping those lines nice and slow and breathing. Such a simple way to relax. I really think releasing expectations is the very, very best. Everything just gets better. And then I suppose the counter argument as well. If you release your expectations, then you'll just become lazy and not do anything well. And I think actually everything gets better instead of worse because what you're doing becomes more joyful and more your own. because you're no longer doing it for other people and what other people think, but you're really honestly doing things for yourself. And your own standards will kick in for what you like and what you enjoy. And so it keeps everything in check. So I think that argument that everything just falls apart when you don't take heed of what other people are telling you to do is just a fear-based argument. But you are an explorer, and you can experiment in your own life with your own expectations and the expectations of others, and see what brings you joy and makes you feel free. Because what makes you feel free is different than what makes me feel free or somebody else. And if you don't explore, then you'll never know what that is. And the world will miss out. And that's totally okay. But wouldn't it be better to just explore for fun? With a pen, because you can. Okay, here are my wild, vibrant greenery explorations. I hope that you enjoyed this pattern. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a beautiful pattern for envelopes and grocery lists and I don't know, puzzles in the paper, wherever you want to put it. Cards, greeting cards. Thank you for drawing with me. It's always lovely when you come to join me either live, because there are students on all of these classes, and I want to give a big shout out to them because they totally delight me all the time with all the things that they explore. So thank you for coming live, and thank you for watching on the replay. I love getting your comments on YouTube. If you would like to donate to this class, you can. It is at paypal.me/eternalpossibility. And if you would like to see more of my work, you can visit my website at eternalpossibility.com. I hope you keep drawing.